I said a hip hop, a hibbit to the hip hop. You don't stop rocking to the bang bang boogie. Say up jump the boogie, the rhythm of the boogie to beat. And now what you hear is not a test. I'm rapping to the beat, and me, the groove, and my friends, we're going to try to move your feet. You see, I am Wonder Mike, and I'd like to say hello to the black, to the white, the red, and the brown, the purple, and yellow. But first, I got 7 minutes of this, by the way. So.
No. I will edit that in, you know. I'm not above that. This is episode 78 of The Variety Artist. This is John Abrams, your host and that guy that interviews successful variety artists from around the world. The thing that struck me most about my guest today, other than his amazing singing talents, is how much he cares about the people in his life, how he talks about them, how he treats them, how he's made them a part of his life. It's true, we talk a lot about business stuff, and I learned a ton about creating a business around my business. But I think a large part of CJ's success is the way he treats others. Now on to the show.
Welcome to The Variety Artist, providing aspiring artists and entertainers with in-depth discussions from top performers from all over the world. So get ready to book some gigs, make some money, and have some fun with your host, John Abrams.
His company, To Go Events, brings game shows, mini golf, remote race cars, and much more to college and corporate events. Magician, hypnotist, and connoisseur of fine whiskeys, variety artist, I give you CJ Johnson.
Woo! And the crowd goes wild.
And there he is, the man, the myth, CJ Johnson.
How are you?
I'm doing great. In a few minutes, I'm off to a little Northern California tour right after we talk here. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it is.
Now, I have to tell you the story before we even get started. When I first started doing magic, I went to your website and I ordered Amazing Magical Secrets for Kids.
Oh, nice.
And what that is, for people listening to this, it's a booklet that has different magic tricks in it. I put my name on it, so it looks like I wrote it, although CJ, you obviously wrote it. But I put my name on it, and then I would sell it at family events. And I made quite a bit of money selling that.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, did you? I bet you did.
I made way more selling individual books than I did selling the Instant Author Kit.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I sold those books after shows for, 15 years, 18 years.
Yeah, I sold them after shows for about 10 years, I think.
I think it's silly if you're not doing back to the room sales. You're just leaving money on the table.
Right, especially if you do family fun nights.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. All right, so we're going to talk about your magic career, your hypnosis career, all those different things. But what impressed me the most is I went on your To Go Events website, and you offer so many things. What are some of the things that you offer?
We currently have 6 different game shows that we produce.
Mm-hmm.
My business partner, Gus Davis, is the best live game show host I've ever seen.
Oh.
I'm pretty good at hosting game shows, but I hate it if I got to follow him into a show. If he's done the client already and then I go in, it's like, oh, yeah. Maybe we can get Gus next time. It's like, no, man. But if they see me first, then everything's great and they love me, but he's just phenomenal. What
started you from going from, I guess you started as a magician, right?
I did. I started as a juggler and a unicyclist, if you want to go way back. In 1982, I went and auditioned for Ringling Brothers Clown College, and
Mm-hmm.
I did not get accepted, but the girl that I auditioned with, she did, and she spent several years with the show. And afterwards, they broke out and they were talking to us, and Scott Linker, who's one of the boss clowns, said, "Get more experience in front of an audience," and that's what I've been doing ever since.
Now, how did you go from magician then to your own business, doing game shows and mini golf and all those things?
For me, all of them were a natural progression of business. I started doing juggling and unicycling, and I'm like, well, nobody's going to hire. I'm not good enough to do that, so I'll be a clown. I painted my face and I dressed funny, but I was never a clown.
Mm-hmm.
And then people started asking for magic. I did one magic trick in my clown show. So I started asking for magic, so I started doing more and more of that and kind of got more interested in magic, kind of phased everything out. And then I had a balloon and gift basket shop. It was tough for me to go from a clown to business owner guy. So I phased out the clown character and I created a ringmaster character so that the people who were calling for a clown could still have something that was circus themed, and I wouldn't lose those customers, and started building more and more magic. And I recognized if I could perform for larger audiences, I could command larger fees.
Yeah.
And so I started kind of collecting bigger magic illusions. I was like, oh, if I just had a sub trunk, if I just had a zigzag, if I just had a super X, I could be a star.
Yeah.
Turns out it didn't, none of that helped me become a star. It's like I had to still get out and sell the shows.
That's right.
And then magic wise, I built an illusion show and I was doing fundraisers for schools and that sort of thing. And then a friend of mine had somebody at one of he did comedy defensive driving, and he had somebody there who said, hey, we're looking for a magic show, but we need somebody who's got like big props and stuff for these phone room shows that we do. And he's like, well, I don't do the big stuff, but I have a friend who does. And so he sent me in, and I went and they came and saw one of my shows, and the tech was terrible. They were like, well, what would you charge us to do that with somebody different doing tech? So we worked out a deal, and that was first show I did for them was October 1st, 1994.
Oh, okay.
And I'm still doing shows with them.
Wow.
And now that's pretty much all the magic that I do is just that one client. I keep servicing them, and I have zero marketing costs to them. And the rest of my business is focused on the other stuff. And I always like game shows, which is back to how did you end up doing game shows and stuff?
Yeah.
I always like game shows, but I was super busy. And I was like, no, I want to do a game show. I want to do a game show.
Sure.
And then it occurred to me, wait, you don't have to host the game shows. You could produce them and have somebody else host them. And now it became like a legit business instead of, finding more ways for me to occupy my time.
Right.
As Gus tells it, I called him. He had just graduated from college and we'd been friends since he was like 13. Knew him from a magic camp. The way Gus tells it, I called him. I said, hey, I'm thinking about starting a game show company. Are you interested in hosting game shows? And he said, yeah. And I said, okay, cool. And hung up the phone.
So you started out as a game show company?
So yeah, we started out as game shows to go. So we started out doing magic, and then I started doing hypnosis, and that gave me some money to play with. And we started out as a game show company with game shows to go. About 7 years ago, my hypnosis college agent called me and said, hey, the company that we have doing photo novelties in Texas doesn't want to do them anymore. Before I just reach out and find somebody else, is that something you're interested in? And I was like, no, I don't think so. And she goes, well, I got 13 shows I can give you in August or in the fall. And I was like, well, let me do some math. And so I started figuring it out. And our youngest son had just graduated high school and was off in Marine Corps boot camp. So I looked at it and I was like, worst case scenario is I help my agent. I distract my wife, who's going crazy because she's been a full-time volunteer mom. And so her life has revolved around our son's school, and now he's gone. And so she's going a little stir crazy. I'm like, I could distract her too. And worst case scenario, if we hate it, we've helped out Carol, we sell the stuff that we had to buy for it, and we break even. Turns out we loved it, and it was a perfect business for my wife to take over.
Oh, okay.
And so we started that, and we called it Fun Photos to Go. So we had game shows to go, fun photos to go. Then we built a mini golf course, and we called that Mini Golf to Go. Then we got the race cars, and it was Race Cars to Go. And then we incorporated and called it To Go Events, and all of our stuff has got the To Go at the end of it.
What a great idea. Most of the people listening to this are one-man bands. Pardon me, Eric Haynes, by the way, who was an actual one-man band. But a lot of people listening to this, they're either a magician that is performing all the time, that's their 99% of their money, or a juggler that's performing all the time is 99% of their money. And you've created a situation where your hypnosis, which is I imagine, a lot of your money, but a lot of your money comes from the to-go events.
More than 2/3 now comes from things that I don't have to be actively involved in. And that's been my goal after, I don't know if you've read the Rich Dad, Poor Dad books, but
Yeah.
One of my goals was to kind of shift more into business owner, which I'm still not there. I'm still actively involved in everything. In fact, I'm actively involved in way too much in my business still. That's always been one of my goals, is if something happened to me, I could still have other people taking care of my obligations. And so that's been a shift. And that's what I've focused on the last few years, is removing myself as much as possible from the equation. And obviously magic shows and hypnosis shows, I have to do those myself, and I love doing those. And that's great. I have a really good time doing them, but the end goal is to be able to step aside, if something happened to my health or I'm getting older.
Retirement, even, I started this thing. I started late when I was 29 years old, but even retirement when you're 29 and 30 years old, it's much closer than you think it is.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. And those years go by so fast.
My whole reason for starting the company was just to be able to do something that I'm not always trading my time for money, but instead have somebody else out there doing something. And it's like, I don't make as much on it, but I can, it's scalable.
But you're sitting there watching TV and the money is rolling in.
I'm still very actively involved in everything, but the number of times that, I'll be sitting, I have a bar at my house, separate building and everything, but I have a bar, and the number of times we'll be sitting in the bar and I'll look over at my wife and I'll be like, hey, we're making $3,500 tonight while we're sitting here in the bar. That's pretty great.
having a drink, making $3,500, having a drink.
Yeah. I can buy much better whiskey than that.
There you go. All right, well, let's talk about your hypnotism career.
The upside to magic and hypnosis is there is a very low barrier of entry as a business. It's like you can print business cards and say, I'm a hypnotist, or, spend $10 a month on hosting a website and I'm a hypnotist or a magician.
Right.
Whereas the other things that I've gotten into have taken much more of a capital investment. With game shows and stuff, I have to own trucks and vans and trailers for the crews to drive, and all of the sets and the computers and set pieces and projectors, and I have to store it and all that. Hypnosis, it's like, I'm a hypnotist and that's done. And when I got hypnosis training, it's kind of one of those things, this is the origin story.
Sure.
I had a office warehouse space in Austin where I housed all of my illusions, and I had a workshop there and I could build stuff, and we had a rehearsal space, and I had an office space that I could work out of, and then I'd go back to my apartment, and everything came to the office warehouse space. And I'm walking one day up, maybe 300 yards, 1,000 feet, pretty decent walk up to the front of the property to get my mail. And in the mail was a flyer saying, come learn how to do hypnosis. And I read it the whole way. And it's one of those classic, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear type of things.
Okay.
I literally never set that flyer down. I went straight to the phone, picked it up, called the guy and said, hey, if I come to your workshop, am I going to know how to hypnotize people when I leave? And he said, yes. And I said, are you sure? And he said, I guarantee it. I said, okay, here's my credit card number. And I gave him my card number and I signed up for it. And I went up, and when I went to the teaching, to the workshop, I already had my first 2 shows booked. And they weren't some time distant in the future. It's like I got back on Sunday. My first show was on Wednesday. My second show was on Friday. I booked them completely not having any idea how to hypnotize people at all.
You were just taking this guy's word for it. You were hoping you'd leave there knowing how to do it, right?
I'm pretty ballsy. I don't mind trying things, It's like it's within my comfort zone to wing things.
Yeah.
When my teacher found out that I already had shows booked, it's like he really made sure he delivered great content to me. Yeah. And he made sure that I understood not just what to say, but why we say it. To me, that's always been the most important thing, is not the what, but the why.
Yeah.
And so I came back and my first show was good. I've seen people doing hypnosis shows for a long time that their show wasn't as good. as that first one was for
Wow.
me. I've also seen a lot better ones. I mean, most of them are a lot better. A couple of them were not that good. And then my next one was better, and the next one after that was better, and it was a natural fit, and it just happened to be the right time in my life where I could get my ego out of the way and make other people stars instead of being what I call a dig me hypnotist, which is the way a lot of hypnotists are. How cool am I? Attitude that some hypnotists have.
Yeah, I've watched your videos, and the people that are hypnotized are the stars of the show.
Yeah, I always tell people it's never my job to make somebody look like a jackass. My job is to empower people to be superstars. I am a vehicle to help people shine.
Well, when you took this course, did they help you with that? Was it more the technical how to hypnotize, or was it how to put on a show also?
It was also how to put on a show. I mean, it certainly helped that I had, 10 or 12 years of stage experience under my belt at that time. Mm-hmm. He did focus a lot on ego death and getting your ego out of the show. I mean, that was very much his style of teaching, was to make sure that you deliver this gift of letting other people be superstars. That was very much his style of teaching, but it was also very in line with my own beliefs.
Yeah, I think the important thing for any magic show or hypnosis show is to make
to make your guests the star of the show. That's it. It's like you don't want that ego-driven magic character or that ego-driven hypnotist is just not likable.
Yeah.
Or very rarely likable. There are people who can pull it off, and I can't think of an example, but I've seen people who pull it off, and you're like, oh, okay, that works for that guy.
Yeah.
But for most people, it doesn't work.
Yeah. And what I always say too is the better someone looks that's on stage, the better I look anyway.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We're going to switch gears a little bit to fact or something John just made up. Sound like fun, CJ?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, so here's what's going to happen. I'm going to read a headline, and if it's true, you tell me if it's true or not. And if it is true, tell me a little more about it. How's that sound?
Okay.
Is it fact? Or is it something John just made up?
So here we go. First headline. In high school, CJ picked a bookcase in the library and made it a goal to read every single book on those shelves.
True story, and I succeeded.
Oh,
yeah. I went to the Marine Military Academy in Harlingen, Texas, and I started there in 8th grade. And about halfway through my 8th grade year, I loved to read. I mean, I was just read all the time. I found that there was this one section that I had read like 5 or 6 books out of. For some reason, I just kept gravitating towards that one section of books. I don't know why. And then I said, it'd be kind of cool if I read every book on this shelf. And so I started on the top shelf, and I just worked my way across and down. And I read many other books in high school other than those, but I read, I think there was 4 shelves. It was one of those that's like mid-chest high and about 3 feet wide. And I read every book on the bookcase. Wow.
So what is that? Is that like 50, 60 books?
No, I think it was a couple hundred books.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean, I read a book a day much of the time, at least a couple of books a week. But there were many times I would just read a book in a day because I was a really fast reader. And like when I was in 7th or 8th grade, 6th grade maybe, my mom got me the Evelyn Wood speed reading course. I went and did the speed reading course and stuff. And I didn't continue doing all of the techniques that they did because I wanted to spend some time with characters and that sort of thing. But it just increased my natural ability to read quickly. So
I'd never taken a speed reading course. They work? Obviously they work, right?
Right. So I'll save you $500.
Okay, go.
Pace yourself with your finger.
Oh, that's it?
That is the essence of a speed reading course is you can read faster than what you can say every word out loud. So instead of trying to read every word out loud, you kind of scan the book quickly with your finger. you're absorbing it and you're reading them. You're just not reciting them out loud to yourself. So sometimes you want to do that. Sometimes you want to, when you're in a book that you love, like I love the Harry Potter books, when you're reading those, it's like, I want every word of those books. I want to swirl them around in my mouth and taste them like a fine whiskey or a fine wine. I want to, I want all of that. But sometimes, I just want the basics of the story, and you can read much faster than you can if you say every word out loud to yourself.
Wow. Because I read the speed that I speak.
Right.
So as I'm reading, I'm kind of saying them to myself in my own brain.
Yep. Well, the essence of all speed reading techniques is use your finger and move your finger faster than you can say every word out loud. Quit trying.
Well, there you go. This podcast is now worth $500 at least.
Right. I'll just give out my PayPal account later. Everybody can just.
There you go. Everybody send CJ $500.
Yeah. Oh, 5 is fine. 5 is fine.
That'll add up.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, we're gonna go on the next one. He's been together with his wife for 23 years and got married again 3 years ago.
That's false.
It's false.
Yeah, we've been together for 23 years, but we got married for the first time 3 years ago. So we've been together. We met in the early days of America Online. We had AOL accounts that we paid by the minute for or by the hour for, and we would end up with $180 AOL bills, plus long distance calls and that sort of stuff. So we met there. We then met in person. We hit it off, and then she sold her house in Iowa and moved to Texas with her 2-year-old son. We've been together ever since, but we never bothered to get married.
So you were together. You were one of those couples that's together, then everybody assumes you're married, and then all of a sudden you get married.
Yep. Everybody. Yeah. So everybody assumed we were married, and about every 3 or 4 years, we throw a big party at our house, and we call them Epic Karaoke, whatever it is. And so this one was Epic Karaoke 7, Liquid Courage. That was they always have a subtitle. The one before that was Epic Karaoke 6, Revenge of the Manatee.
Okay.
Everybody came for a party, and we had friends from all over the country who came in for our party, from Maine, from Michigan, from Florida, from New Jersey, from New York, from California, I think Iowa, Illinois. I mean, literally from all over the country. And we ran it like a little convention. I had a block of rooms reserved. I have a shuttle bus from the hotel where out-of-town guests were staying to the party so that nobody had to worry about driving home drunk. So we had this party, and at my 50th birthday party, we had entertainment, and we had Bob Sheets, who is just phenomenal and so funny and was just the absolute perfect guy to have. And our friend Rebecca Loby, who was on season 1 of The Voice, has been a friend of ours for a long time. And she came out and she sang, and have the party, and we told everybody to be there by 7:30 for a special presentation. So everybody's thinking I've got a surprise entertainer or something. And David Hyra, who's my dearest friend in the world, kind of gathers everybody around, and we've got this big deck outside the house, and part of it is built kind of like a stage specifically with this event in mind. He's like, all right, well, we're gonna get started. And he looks around and he's like, well, where's Kim? And we can't start without Kim. All of a sudden, and because we're in the event production business, of course, we've got lighting and video and sound. And,
it's a whole thing, I'm sure.
Yeah. And so then the Bruno Mars "Marry Me" song comes on. Yeah. And spotlights hit her, and she's down this stone path that leads out to where we park our motorhome, and she's standing there in a wedding dress with our son in his Marine Corps dress blues, leading her up the aisle, and people are like, oh my gosh, they're renewing their vows. You can hear this on one of the audio clips. They're renewing their vows, and somebody else is like, no, they're getting married. And then people just lost it. It was really, it was absolutely fantastic. And it was perfect for us. It was, the people who were going to come to our party anyway were here, and not just the people who, would have come to our wedding.
Yeah.
We didn't get presents, which is awesome at our age. We're trying to get rid of stuff. We didn't need a bunch of wedding presents and things like that, except for Eric Diddleman. Eric Diddleman brought cause he's coming to a karaoke party, right? So Diddleman brings one of those giant cookies that just says, "Let's get drunk."
Perfect.
And we're like, this is great. We give him a really hard time about it because it was perfect. It was perfect.
That's beautiful. All right, next one. This is going to be a quickie. Who's the funniest person you know?
The woman I married. I steal all of her stuff.
Oh, do you?
Oh my God. If it's something funny that I've said, it's most likely came out of her mouth first. She makes me laugh a lot.
You got to put that now on all your programs whenever you perform at a place. Put it on the bottom. Jokes by Kim.
Yeah. She gets a writing credit. Yeah. I was gonna say, most of our friends know that she's the funny one. She's got this special gift of everybody loves her instantly. She's the reason that we do well in the college market, especially with the fun photo stuff. All of the student activities, people just adore her. I have a thing above in our bathroom that says, Jackson Brown's 21 Secrets to Success. And the number one thing on it is marry the right person. 99% of your joy or misery are going to come from that single decision.
Nice.
Yeah. So I knocked it out of the park with that decision.
I guess so. All right. Last one. CJ was once corrected by 20,000 people for mispronouncing the town.
That is so true.
Oh,
it still gives me nightmares, and I still cannot say the name of the town without consciously thinking about it because I'm so afraid if I misspell it. Now, I don't know if you've ever been corrected by 20,000 people before.
No.
It is gut-wrenching. Just gut-wrenching as 20,000 people turn on you all at once.
Oh, no.
It's like, so I said the name of the town was, I got to say it. You say it with a drawl, so it's Raleigh. Raleigh. So somebody gave me that little mnemonic, and so now I have to say it with a drawl. Raleigh. I said rally.
Oh!
And I said rally. I say rally. All 20,000 of you say, it's Raleigh. It's like, no. And literally, I bet I went 10 or 12 years without saying that word out loud. It's like, I'm going to RDU. I've just used their airport short code. It's like I literally have had a physical reaction just telling that story again. It was the most awful moment on stage I've ever had.
I've never been corrected by 20,000 adults or people, but I have been corrected by 300 kids.
Oh, yeah.
When you say somebody's name, oh, hi, little Sally. Well, Sally's easy to pronounce. But when you have an unusual name and everybody knows it but you, and you say it out loud and it isn't the right name, and then you're corrected by 300 kids, it's I don't know. Maybe it's the same feeling. I don't think it's the same feeling as 20,000, though.
I've had that one before, and it's really bad.
Yeah.
And they, the kids make it worse because you're like, I'm sorry, I said it wrong. Was it such and such? And they'll repeat themselves, and you'll say to the kid exactly what you heard them say.
Yep.
And then everybody corrects you again.
That's
and
right.
And then they all start trying trying to help you. And it's like, well, that's not helping if you're all screaming out the kid's name.
Yeah, you can't hear a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So then you resort to, can you spell it for me? And then they spell it.
The same thing.
Yeah, and you're like, that's not even a real word. What are you talking about? J never comes right before H. Never.
Yeah, isn't there a U after Q?
Yeah, I don't get this.
Instead of an apostrophe? What is that?
And what's this umlaut?
How am I supposed to pronounce that? So that sounds humiliating. 20,000 people.
It was rough. It was.
What venue was it? What type of venue was it?
Back in 2003, we toured, me and Brian Brushwood and a bunch of other people, all toured as part of the Brooks and Dunn Neon Circus. And so nobody was there to see me. I was just opening act was Aaron Lines, then Jeff Bates, then Brad Paisley, then Rascal Flatts. And then while they reset the stage between Rascal Flatts and Brooks and Dunn, this hypnotist from Texas that nobody came to see would do a 15-minute bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody's there because I'm between the two headliners and they're all watching me, but none of them care, and they're not all watching me. I'd say 6% are watching me. The rest are going to get beer. And
everybody gets up and gets a beer. Yeah.
Yeah. It was nice working for that many people, but it was nice getting back to doing colleges where the people who were there to see you were actually there to see you, because nobody came to these shows to see me. They came and I happened to be there too.
That was fact. Or something John just made up.
We're going to go into some fan questions. You want some fan questions, CJ?
Yeah, you bet.
All right. Peter John, an entertainer and huge Batman fan, asks, when doing game shows, what type of buzzer system do you use? Where can it be purchased from? And where can I get custom-made systems? I guess that's 3 questions.
That is 3 questions. So we have used all of them, depending on what we go with, what show we're doing. We've also had software custom written for us, and the player stands buzzers that we use right now for our fast action trivia show were all built in-house here. I have a full-time tech guy who created them, wrote the software for them, programmed them, and had all of the things that nobody else was doing that were important to me when I had a mental picture of what I wanted a game show to be.
Mm-hmm.
We built ours. We probably had $10,000 just in stuff in them, plus 18 months of me paying James for, probably half of his time was spent on that. So, we got a lot invested in that deal, but we got exactly what we wanted out of it. And now it's almost time for version 2.0. From traveling with them, we know the things that need to change. But for just regular ones, Game Show Mania, their stuff is pretty bulletproof. It's bigger, it's heavier, but they've done a lot of advances, and their latest stuff is looking really cool. They're pricey. But they're going to last you forever.
And it seems like with technology moving so fast, things are going to get lighter and cheaper too. Is that right? What do you think?
Game show stuff isn't really getting lighter for some reason. Everything's designed to be carried by truck. When we built ours, it was important for us to build something that would look awesome, but that we could get on an airplane with. And so everything would pack down into one Pelican case, and it would weigh under 50 pounds.
Oh, for the whole setup?
For the whole setup. Well, we're close to that. We have to put a couple of things in another bag. So your other suitcase has to have microphones and that sort of stuff to it. Because the ones we built, has the lockout. So when you buzz in, nobody else can. When you buzz in, it activates only your microphone. The other microphones are dead. And all of that took a whole lot of figuring out.
Yeah.
The other setups do that, but there was but none of them could pack down into something you could carry on an airplane with. And having an act that you can take on an airplane opens up a much larger market to you. And
that's just the buzzer system.
No, that's just the buzzer system.
Yeah, that's not counting everything else that's involved in the game show.
Right. Yeah, no sound system, no video projector, no screen, none of that stuff.
Conrad Colon, a terrific magician out of New Jersey, asks, when bringing someone onto your team, what qualities do you look for?
Work ethic, somebody who's not afraid. If it calls for a 16-hour day, you put in a 16-hour day. Somebody who's looking for breaks, or I got to have Fridays off or things like that, that doesn't work. it's not an accident that we call ourselves the To Go Events family, because we're family. I truly love, like, to the point of, if somebody on our team needed a kidney, I would see if I could donate.
Wow.
Like that kind of caring and family. And Gus is my brother from another mother. We are exactly the same person. He just does everything, like, 10 years behind me. First marriage, second marriage, age of kids. I mean, starting businesses. We're both raised by single mothers who provided us opportunities well beyond their income. I mean, we're the same human being. I'd take a bullet for that guy, and vice versa. And so really having somebody that you fully trust is great. It's like, I trust James and Gus with my passwords to everything. My house is open to them. Our business is run from our property, but it's not in our house. I mean, one little tiny part of it is in our house, but the rest is in separate buildings on our property.
You actually go to work?
Yeah. I mean, my commute is, 15 steps. I do go to work. I do exit the house. I have no magic or business stuff in my house at all.
Oh, that's ideal and real important to your own personal life too, is having a spot outside of your home, where you reside, where you live, even if it's only a few steps away.
Got to be a good human being. That's the key to being part of our team, is you got to be a good human being first. And so we have to know that somebody's a good, decent person who's going to treat people right before we consider bringing them on. And our latest person that we brought on is somebody that we've known for a while. He's just he's in a sales position, and he's working remotely. But it's like, we've known his wife and him for years and years, and we know he's a good person. We can trust him, and that's it.
It sounds like you are hiring people that you already have standing relationships with, will be a good fit for your family.
Yeah, that has been the case. The couple of times that we've just hired somebody that just showed up to do a job. Yeah. It's worked okay for a while, but most of the people that have worked for us have been people that we already knew, or that we had a relationship with in some way or another.
Ray Anderson of Esther's Follies fame. Do you know Ray?
I know Ray very well.
I thought you might. Of Esther's Folly fame in Texas asks, how did you find your stage personality?
Oh, that's a great question. By the way, if those of you who don't know Ray Anderson, he is the best magician working today.
A lot of people say that. I haven't seen him personally. I've had him on this show, and he's terrific. But I know a number of people who have seen him. He is their favorite magician.
There's a reason for it. He's just fantastic, and just a great guy. So yeah, how did I find? So yeah, my stage persona is just very much an extension of me. It's like, I'm just not a good actor. So I've tried to do characters and things before, and I'm just terrible at it. So my stage persona is an extension of me, somebody who likes to have fun with people, who takes care of people, who likes to laugh and have fun. Most of the time, I'm just as excited when things happen, magically, as the people in the audience are. So I think it's kind of just an amplified version of me.
Hey, Virginia Hankins, owner and performer of She Rose Entertainment. Have you seen her stuff?
I have not.
Oh, her company supplies mermaids for mermaid parties, and she has these beautiful mermaid outfits, and they supply unicorns. She creates a horse creates unicorns basically, and supplies them for parties. Really interesting, a nice little niche.
God, I love how people figure out something to do that's different and make a living with it. It's like, that's so exciting when somebody's doing something different. That's awesome.
Isn't that great?
Check her out. Yeah.
All right. She Rose Entertainment. She asks, how is a good magic show similar or different from a good hypnosis show?
That is a good question. So a magic show generally goes to plan as long as the effects work and people respond. A hypnosis show is so dependent on good people on stage that you have to adapt so much, and you might cut material or add material based on the abilities of the people who are up there. And a lot of times at a hypnosis show, at the end of it, I'm like, oh my God, that was the most painful experience that I've had, in a year, because the people just weren't responding. Their idea of, being really hot was just kind of laying there and dealing with it, and it's like, no, I want them fanning themselves and mopping sweat off their eyebrows, and they're just not getting it, and you just kind of gotta plow through, and you have to spell everything out of what you're expecting instead of leading people down a path and seeing what they're going to do.
Right.
But that's the difference, is that you really have to adjust completely to the people who are on stage with you. And in a magic show, you have to adjust a little bit to the audience, but you can still do your same pattern, and the effect is going to be the same.
Sure.
The end result in a hypnosis show is completely dependent on the people who are on stage with you.
Right. And I'll bet, and sometimes, well, in magic shows too, because I use a lot of audience volunteers in my magic show. So sometimes the show is somewhat dependent on the audience member that you bring up. But I'm only talking about 2 or 3 at a time. You're talking about, I don't know how many you have on stage, 20, 25?
It depends on where I go. I have smaller schools where I'll get, a dozen people on stage. That's kind of the minimum that I like to work with. Or I've had shows where there were 8 people who showed up. We did it, 4 of them came up on stage, and we did a show with 4 people for 4 people.
Oh my.
And, but I'm like, I'm doing the show because that's how I get paid,
I call those blue collar shows.
Yep. And afterwards I was like, I'm sorry, people didn't show up. And they're like, what are you talking about? That's the most people we've ever had at an event. I'm like, are you kidding me? What are you doing bringing a hypnotist in, when you don't have, how many people do you have on campus? They're like, well, we have 76 that live on campus, and we have 140 in school. And I'm like, oh my goodness, but now I ask, I'm like, what's a average turnout for you? What's an, oh my God, that's amazing turnout? And what's the, we totally screwed the pooch turnout?
Yeah.
That gives me a barometer, because if I'd have known 8 people was the best turnout they'd ever had, I would have reacted differently, because to me it was a disaster. To them it was great.
Yeah. It's funny how that works. Do you have some advice for the beginner?
Yeah, beginners deliver value to your clients all the time, and get out there and perform as often as you can. The only way to get good is, like Michael Lamar said, the only way to get good is to find a place to be bad, and find a place and go. And for most of my career, I would go to and the first time I would do any routine would be in front of the local magic club. Because I knew that it was a friendly audience and I could do it. And, there'd be a lot of guys there that would be like, oh, that was great. That was just really great. When I knew that it was terrible. But there was also a couple of guys there that I respected their opinion, and they'd be like, all right, you're on to something. Let's do this and this. Those would be the things that would make just a huge difference. So find a safe place to go perform, but get out and perform as often as you can. If it's open mic nights at a comedy club, go out and do it. If it's, wherever you can, perform, because the only way to get good as a performer is to perform.
All right. Well, how about the working pro? Some advice for the working pro.
Associate with working pros and stay off of the poisonous forums on the internet.
Oh, you're not kidding.
They're full of poison. They're full of trolls. The people who just want to be right and argue, and you don't have time for that. If it's somebody whose opinion you truly respect, they're probably not going to be posting their opinion on the forums. They're probably going to reach out to you personally and say, well, here's what I would do in this situation. But just stay away with those things. One of the things I'm happiest with in my career is that I've left a pretty good digital footprint that I can be proud of. Anytime that I've participated in discussions online, I've tried to be helpful. And, if I have issue with people, either I just leave them alone, or I'll talk to somebody, privately about about something.
A friend of mine who I won't mention his name, he had posted a number of things on online forums and got a bunch of negative responses. And he did something really interesting. He went to every single person's profile that made a comment and kind of took a look at the profile and took a look at what they do for a living. And almost none of them actually did magic for a living.
Right.
So how can you trust people that? So what he ended up doing is talking to myself, talking to people that he was confident in giving good, constructive feedback.
And just because somebody, the most poisonous person that I know makes his living doing magic, but it's like I just won't have anything to do when I recognized this is a poisonous person. I don't have time for this. It's like I just cut my ties. I'm like, yep, can't be part of this.
All right, let's give us a recommended book or two, and then we'll get you out of here.
All right. For magicians, my favorite book in magic, favorite book of all time is Device and Illusion by Jim Steinmeier. What I love about it, one, I'm a stage magician. I'm not a close-up guy. I mean, I certainly have some close-up stuff in my arsenal, but I make my living doing stage magic, and this is a stage magic book. But what makes it so good as a magic book in general is that he talks about the why of everything. So when he talks about hot air, he's like, the problem with suspensions is getting whatever it is that's masking what's holding them up, because we all know that's what's going on, but getting it out of the way. Well, how far out of the way? Well, here's why I made these decisions to do this and this. And having that understanding of why decisions are made, I think really helps you creatively down the road. And it also helps you perform the pieces better because you understand why. Steinmeier, smarter than me.
Yes.
It's probably smarter than most of us when it comes to designing illusions.
Now, you mentioned a couple of books. One's Magic, which you just mentioned, and you say you might have another?
Yep, outside of magic, my favorite book of all time is The Richest Man in Babylon. It's a parable about becoming wealthy and about being disciplined in your spending and investing and paying yourself first. And it's such a fundamentally great book. Years ago, I was doing a lecture for TAOM, and I told Brian, I said, hey, man, I'm thinking about anybody who buys something from me, I'm going to give them a copy of Richest Man in Babylon because I really love that book. And he's like, look, if you want to be really awesome, just give everybody a copy of the book. You can probably buy a couple cases of them for $2 or $3 a piece. Just give everybody one, no strings attached. I'm like, man, that'd be pretty cool. So I bought 300 copies of Richest Man in Babylon. I did my lecture and said, I'm going to be back here selling stuff. But for everybody who's here at the lecture today, this is the book that'll change your life more than any other book that you get about magic. Is if you get put these things to use in your life, it's going to make you more money than magic ever will. And I gave away, 200 copies and eventually gave away the other 100 at other events. But yeah, I've literally given away more than 300 copies of that book. That's how much I like it.
Wow. Well, my address is...
I might have a copy, man. See, shoot me your... Yeah.
Oh, I'm happy about that.
I think I might still have a couple of copies. I'll have to find them. I'll have to ask Gus and James if I do.
Oh, I might have to just message you my address then. I think, CJ, this was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thanks for inviting me. And thanks. I think I saw that it was Peter Bois and Ray Anderson that recommended me. So thanks to them.
They've both been on the show. They have terrific podcasts. When you get a second, listen to their interviews. They're both terrific. And before I let you go, do you have some sort of social media you want to plug?
I'm on Facebook and Twitter at Hypnotic One. Hypnotic, HYPNOTIC, the numeral 1. On Instagram, I don't do a whole lot there, but I try sometimes. It's CJ Johnson 7 because that's what was available. I'm at CJJohnson.com, togoevents.com, sleepwithcj.com.
By the way, one of my favorite URLs.
That was a joke that when I was searching for hypnosis specific website, it was a joke to do that one. And then it became a funny thing. But now I'm afraid to say it from stage because people have gotten sensitive. So I don't even promote it anymore because people are funny about that.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And thanks to all my variety artists. If you found this podcast valuable, tell a friend. You can reach me from my Facebook page. Just shoot me out a message. And while you're there, join my Facebook group at The Variety Artist, where you can ask me to ask questions of our guests. Thanks again, CJ, for your time.
Hey, thanks so much. Appreciate you having me.
All right, now go out and book those gigs, make some money, and have some fun.
That's all for this episode of The Variety Artist, but your journey continues on our website. Go to thevarietyartist.com for more strategies, insight, and resources, as well as show notes on today's guest to assist you in your career. We'll see you on the next episode of The Variety Artist. But until then, go out and book those gigs, make some money, and have some fun.